you're not looking. Just whatever.
Well,
and,
even me,
that adds up after a while, and all of a sudden, I've put in 15 hours on the newest Castlevania, or 40 hours on Final Fantasy V or whatever.
Well, when I like, say we work late here, and when I get home, it does seem like a chore to then turn on all, like, my home entertainment system and the TV and all of that, and then get on Xbox Live and maybe start getting friend messages. And I don't really want to talk to anyone. I just want to play a game. And it just is so much easier to just sit down,
pop open the clamshell,
DS, and I don't have to wait for loading.
Playing.
And I'm just
But the reason also that this is dually kick-ass is because the kinds of people who need an on-the-go gaming system, if they want to be playing games at all anymore, are generally people who also love the kind of game that's moving to DS and Game Boy Advance and sometimes PSP. Is because the people who need to game on the go are also of the generation that truly appreciates the kind of game that the Game Boy Advance is practically made for.
I think it's what's happening here is kind of a slower version of what's happened in Japan already, where people have started to move away so much from playing consoles exclusively and really picked up more of the DS for games that are not traditional gameplay experiences.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that the people who are making this migration to handhelds, they're older gamers. They have money. If the publishers and manufacturers can market properly to them, that's just money waiting to be made, because these are people with jobs. They have careers.
Right.
They're not like 15-year-olds who can buy one game a month. They can buy whatever they want.
Yep, they can. Yeah,
you give them a satisfying 5-hour experience, and 5 hours later of gameplay, like a week later, they want another 5-hour experience.
Yeah, I mean, to a lot of people in Japan, a 3,000 yen purchase is a 0 yen purchase. They can just buy it.
Well, especially over there, where a PlayStation 2 game is 6,800 yen.
Yeah, and Brain Age costs like less than a third of the price of some games, and gives them more hours of playtime. Something else too. People rag on the DS's technology a lot, but when you consider that, so it's not just people making the transition from console gaming to handheld gaming. It's people making the transition to handheld gaming from nothing, right? I mean, can you imagine? Brain Age could not have worked on the Game Boy Advance. Like, advancing technology has a lot to do with the success of the DS. Not so much because, it looks amazing, but because of high-resolution screens.
in 3D.
Not even Dr. Kawashima in 3D. Readable text for normal people.
And a convenient interface.
How you're not, that too, but how you're not squinting at a little Game Boy Advance screen to read what's going on. Like, it is like reading a book. The text is the same size, the same clarity. Like, that has so much to do with it, because you can't get, grandma sitting there playing a Game Boy, no matter how nice the screen was. Just because
but the interface is true, too.
Interface is like above and beyond. But it had to be this kind of tech.
I remember I refused to buy the Game Boy Advance when it first came out, because I was like, that game system right there is made for 4-year-olds. I can't believe...
It's because you didn't like Arctic White.
No, it was the Game Boy Advance. I thought
Blue,
it was it was like
there was
some
also white,
kitty color.
Yeah.
Was there white?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Wait, the original one, the purple one?
I'm thinking of purple is what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the Duplo brick that went with that other Duplo brick that Nintendo made, and I was a surly, and I was in college, and I snarled at it, and I said that looks awful, and then the Game Boy Advance SP came out, and I was delighted. I shouted, "Gaming grows up. That looks like a palm." I was like, I could play that on the train and not feel bad about enjoying gaming in front of other people. So, because the other thing was so purple. I was in college.
So was the SP when it first launched, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was all part of Nintendo's strategy, where they get like all the early adopters to buy it, and then they give those ones to their friends, and then they start playing GBA and DS and all that.
So then I was delighted, and then the DS came out, and I was like, now it's too much like a palm. I like that you're going after grown-ups, but
there's just no pleasing you, Jennifer.
No, seriously. I think the lesson we can take from this, the Jen has bad opinions about things.
No, I'm just
from Metroid 2 on the Game Boy.
I'm so surly, and I want games to welcome grown-up gamers as well as younger gamers.
Okay.
And I think so much of that has to do with design. So much of it has to do with design.
And I think classic style gaming appeals to both ends. It's good for the little kids because it's simple.
Right.
It's good for the older gamers because we started to go senile and they don't have to remember as much. So yeah,
that's true.
All around good stuff.
A jumps, B shoots. That's all you got to know.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, on that note, I think that about wraps it up. And much to Jen's delight, it's time for the Retro Roundup for this week. So what's the retro news this week, guys? Anything?
You know what really pisses me off? Nintendo wants to have their cake and eat it too, because they want to come out and tell us.
They don't want us to have their cake.
They don't want us to have any cake. They want us to have old nasty cake that nobody wants anymore. That's got all shit growing on it. No, they want to say, well, we want to release our games, and time them out so there's something good every week, and then we have a week like this week where there's nothing. It's like
Military Madness is good.
Military Madness is good. Military Madness
is basically. Do you consider it 8-bit or 16-bit when it's on TurboGrafx?
I think we agreed 12.
We came up with 12.
Is it really good today, or was it one of those?
No, it's like Advance Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
Advance Wars minus all the, oh my god, dialogue. It's just like strip out the story.
It's my next purchase.
Yeah, it's actually really good.
But that is not a big genre, and if you're not a fan of that genre, there is absolutely nothing for you this week. Okay,
right.
But you are.
I am, and so I was really happy about hearing about that this week.
I don't know. Nintendo has done really well with the Advance Wars series, and I think they know that that's one of the sides on which their bread is buttered, so to speak. So I think,
was that it for this week?
I think if they...
Space Harrier 2. Now, Space Harrier is good, but the Genesis version is awful.
Space Harrier 2 is awesome.
Terrible.
But only in the arcade where you had super scalar technology.
Right.
At home, you don't have that.
No.
And I played it last night, and I was expecting to be blown away, and I was basically... I wanted to blow chunks.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
wow.
It was really bad because I think
I had a seizure.
Things don't really scale at you. It's just like all of a sudden there's something in your face and hitting you, and it's really hard to follow.
Dude, I hate that.
The animation is like those old LCD fixed display games where like you press right and the guy moves from here on the screen to like an inch across the screen.
I'm pretty sure that the Master System version of Space Harrier is actually better than Space Harrier 2 for the Genesis.
I'm pretty sure that 3D World Runner is actually better than Space Harrier 2 for the Genesis.
But at least it's got that cool grid pattern that, well, I guess Space Harrier does too, but whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there's
Tennis, a masterpiece of Miyamoto-esque gameplay.
Yeah,
and,
guess what, guys?
Crown jewels of...
If you own a Wii, you own Wii Sports, which means you already own a better tennis game than NES Tennis.
Yeah.
So save yourself $5 and just plug in Wii Sports.
If you own a baseball and a couple of toothpicks, you have a better tennis game than tennis on the NES.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's not good. This week's classic selection was mostly not classics. Mm-hmm. But Military Madness is good. And I think Nintendo needs to do a better job of promoting the stuff that they release each week, because if you're like average kid, 14 years old, you think Advance Wars is awesome, but you don't understand what these old games are that were created before you were born.
Right.
None of them are actually going to buy Military Madness because none of them know that, hey, this is like having Advance Wars on your console.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Nintendo really needs to get on the stick and do a better job of promoting the games. They shouldn't leave that up to us, although it does give me something to do with my week.
Right, Jeremy.
I did hear a credible rumor that we're getting Super Mario Brothers for Christmas.
Yeah, that would be okay. I'd rather get Super Mario World, but whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. Also, Toe Jam and Earl.
And R-Type.
Cool.
Hey. Yeah.
What's the rumor?
Oh, when's that coming?
Christmas.
Supposedly next week.
That's a good one.
It's a rumor. It's a rumor.
Those across the pond and over a ways, they already have Toe Jam and Earl, correct?
Yeah, in Japan, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't appreciate it.
I know. What?
It's not a very... It doesn't strike me as being a very, like, Japan-friendly game. It's got that kind of weird...
Right.
It's weird, but not in a Japanese way. It's, like, weird in an American way.
Exactly.
Which I think is why they have it.
Right.
Because nobody really wants it.
Yeah. That's
ironic as that is.
Yeah. I've heard that this week on the Japanese, they're getting
that's been set.
Legend of Kage. Is that right?
Yeah.
So they're actually having an even worse week than us.
Yeah.
Because Legend of Kage might actually be the worst NES game ever. Mm-hmm. It was really, really terrible.
Yep. Well, I never played it.
Well, you probably called it Legend of Cage back then.
Probably.
So think back. Do you remember Legend of Cage?
The opening where that right, yeah,
pretty
and
much.
The quadriplegic princess gets kidnapped by the flying squirrel.
It's a game that's only about going straight up, and you don't ever know why you're going straight up, but you just keep going up, and eventually you win.
Mm-hmm. Wow, fantastic!
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So not a glorious week, but maybe next week will be better. But we can't talk about it because we won't be here. So that's it for this episode of Retronauts. Thanks again to Jennifer and to Chris and to our dear boss, Sam, for coming down to talk. Sorry that we got kind of sidetracked and didn't talk so much about the retro this time, but we know that because you're awesome, you still loved the conversation anyway. And that wraps it up for 2006. We'll be back in 2007 to talk about more old things, and we'll usually stay on topic, I promise. So have a good holiday, everyone, and we'll be back next time with